Hello, hi, it's Henry the computer guy, and you're welcome to our lesson number 24. And in the previous lesson, we said we are going to be talking about what we call the physical security, the electronic security, the document or file security, and lastly, the network security. So, we are going to be looking at all these securities and how they work. How can we guard our ICT tools, let's say, physically using the physical security? So they're telling us that physical security is the protection of personnel. They can be my workers, protection of hardware, the physical components, protection of the software, let's say the programs on my computer, network security, and data from physical actions and events that could cause serious loss or damage to an enterprise or agency or an institution. And they're telling us that physical security includes protection from. We're going to be looking at what we protect under physical security. Remember, for example, you can have, let's say, a computer lab. Why do we put a padlock there? To prevent theft or intruders from accessing it. Why do we put patterns in our phones? To prevent someone from accessing our information on our phones. Why do we put CCTV cameras in our areas? To keep watch over or monitor in our absence. So they're telling us that physical security includes protection from, for example, fire. Remember in the previous videos we talked about why we need a fire extinguisher. Any accident may occur at any time. So that means that we need a fire extinguisher to help us fight that fire outbreak. The floods. How can we guard against the floods? Put a computer lab. Remember, I'm going to focus much on the computer lab. Put your computer lab far away from where the floods can actually reach. Natural disasters. For example, lightning. How can we guard against the lightning? You install what we call a lightning conductor or build a lab having what we call a lightning conductor to guard against the lightning. Or don't use computers during a storm. Burglary or theft. How can we guard against theft of our computer components, let's say in the lab? If we can fit what we call the strong locks. Put the loop when it is always firm, strong, such that you prevent someone from unauthorized access to that lab. That's why you can see some people always put strong locks over their computer labs. And outside, they can put what we call a CCTV camera to watch over who is trying to access our lab when we are actually not in place. Then vandalism. Complete destroying of, let's say, the hardware and the software. If someone accesses our lab without authorization, they can destroy all the computer hardware we have there, leading to a loss. So that's why we put or fit strong locks and even put surveillance cameras there. Then, how can we guard against the terrorism? That's why people use what we call metal detectors or bomb detectors. Whenever you access any building or certain area, they'll have to check you to see whether you're having unauthorized device you're having. Are we together? So let's continue with what we call electronic security. And under electronic security, they are telling us that these refer to any electronic equipment that could perform security operations like surveillance, for example, the CCTV camera. Access control. You cannot access a building because let's say you don't have a card. Alarming. Someone trying to access our, let's say, room without authorization, an alarm chases away that person. Or intrusion control to a facility or an area which uses power from mains and also a power backup like a battery, etc. There are three main types of electronic security systems and they include, we're going to be looking at them. First of all, they have told us we have what we call the closed circuit television cameras. Cameras have been installed at every area. Now we already see cameras installed on the way to monitor the movement or actions being done by people in that area. So it also acts as a deterrent to theft. Someone wants to access the lab, sees a camera there, knows that you're watching him or her. So they will act as deterrent to theft. That is electronic security. Then we have another one which is called the automated access control system, which is the ACS. And this can include the DAC, which is the discretionary access control. We have the managed access control, and we have the role-based access control. What do they actually mean? Are we seeing these items here? We can actually access a building after putting a code or a passcode. We actually access a card to access a building. For example, you see in some hotels, they give you a room, they give you a card which is going to be used to open that room that you're going to. Use of fingerprints, scanning the entire face, scanning the iris of the eye, and others. Those are access control systems. So let's look at what these three actually mean. They are divided, and access control is divided into three. Let's look at them and see what they actually mean. And they're telling us that managed access control, only systems owner manages access control. That means that the owner has access to everything, and the end user has no control over the privilege. It is my system, I will have full control of it. You the owner, let's say you the user, you don't have a privilege to it. There's some areas you can go to, the owner accesses it, but for you cannot access that room or that area. Then we come to what we call the discretionary access control. And this is the least restrictive model that all individuals have complete control over any object they want. For example, in a company, everyone can access that room. Everyone can access that computer. It has no levels. Then we come to what we call the role-based access control. This one provides access based on the position of an individual has in an organization. Let's say if I give you an example of a bank. There are some areas where even those tellers cannot reach, or some rooms where the tellers cannot even reach. Let's say it's the bank manager only accesses that room, or other assistants can access it. You're given privilege, based on the role that you have in an organization, and others like that. So, and lastly, they're telling us that we have what we call the intrusion detection system. This one will help us to make an alarm in case someone is trying to access our system without authorization, without our consent. You've watched in some movies whereby if a company is being hacked, their system is going to make an alarm and they switch off everything. So they have what we call an intrusion detection system. It will tell them someone is trying to access our system. It makes an alarm. So it is called an intrusion detection system. Then lastly, let's just talk about the document or file security. And they're telling us that security measures under a document management system seek to protect business data and business interests, comply with the legal requirements such as protection of privacy. Let's say we have our documents, we have protected, they are very private. I don't want someone to access them. I can put a password there. Even if you take it, you will not use it or open it. And prevent financial losses through ID, theft, and fraud. So they're telling us that document security is generally ensured by restricting access to the documents. That's why you're seeing some diagrams here. I have my files, the padlock is there. I have my folder on a computer, I give it a password. So for you to be able to access it, you have to be having a password. I restrict access to those documents. And they're telling us that some of the examples of document security include password protection. You have your document, Microsoft Word, it is having some private information. You give it a password such that whenever someone opens it, it asks for the password to reveal the data which is there. Watermarking. This one is also done by organizations. They put a logo behind or as the watermark, such that whenever that document is printed somewhere, it will be having the logo, or photocopied, it will be having that logo of that company. Document expiry or self-destruction and restriction of access. For example, we have some Google Forms. Someone will tell you that you're going to, let's say, sign your attendance list in a Google form before it reaches or approaches 9. And after that time or after 9, the document will expire. You will not be able to feed in the data that you're supposed to feed in. That is what we call document expiry. Then we have what we call digital rights management, restricting copy, print, and forwarding. You're going to find that you find some information over the internet, but you cannot copy their content to your work. Or you cannot even print that document, or you cannot forward it. That is called digital rights management. We have what we call document tracking of who has viewed it. For example, you have your WhatsApp. You put statuses there, but you can restrict someone from seeing your status. Or you can see who and when they saw your status. It will be indicating someone has viewed your status. That is what we call document tracking. Who has viewed it? Then file encryption. Encryption is like changing your information to something that someone is not understanding, or that is not understandable to a third party. So they will not be able to understand what you are meaning by that information. You encrypt the data. Then, lastly, we can also hide files within other files, and at times it is called steganography. If you hide some files into other files, for example, I have my music folder. I can hide a picture or a photograph. I don't want some people to not see it. It will be there. So that is hiding information into other types of information or data. It is called steganography. We continue and talk about what we call the network security. You're using the computer over a network, but how secure are you? Are people not trying to access your information without you knowing? So we're going to look at the network security. And they're actually telling us that network security consists of the policies, the processes and the practices adopted to prevent, detect and monitor unauthorized access, misuse, modification or denial of computer networks and network accessible resources. And they're telling us that these include access control. Can you access something over that network? No. Or yes. We have what we call the virus and antivirus softwares. We can install these ones onto our computer to prevent or detect and remove the virus that we are going to find, for example, over the internet. Application security. There are some applications on computers that are also not accepted to be opened by the employers of those organizations. When they have certain levels for any person to access it, we can, let's say, for example, you're having your phone. You have your WhatsApp, you don't want, let's say, your kids to open it, you give it a security, a password and block them. Network analytics. It shows who and when they used the network. For example, let's say you provided information or someone used your account to access the network of the organization. They can see or look through the log files. Who attempted to use our system at this time and this time. That is the analytics. Then the type of network related security, the endpoint, the web and the wireless. Protect the computer, protect the web, and protect the wireless networks. You're having let's say a wireless network in your company. you have to secure it from unauthorized access. By giving it a password, you also protect the computers, the endpoints, install antivirus software there, and activate firewalls. Then they're telling us that firewall. Remember, a firewall can be a software or hardware that limits unauthorized access to a network. Whenever the firewall is on, we always prevent those people who try to hack or access our network without authorization. Then we can also use what we call the VPN. VPN in full is the virtual private network, VPN encryption. And it's specifically a network that extends a private network across a public network and enables users to send and receive data across shared or public networks as if they are they're using the same private network. So that network or VPN creates a private network over the public network, which is internet. And people share data assuming that they are on the same private network. Then lastly, email security. You have to secure all your emails such that they are not accessible to those people who are not authorized to access them. Thank you for watching. It's been Henry the Computer Guy. See you in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye bye. I sign out.